Imagine NASCAR tech inspectors surrounding a Pontiac, measuring everything twice, then 3 times. Bore diameter, exactly 4.094 inches. Stroke, precisely 4.00 inches. Displacement calculation, 421.19 cubic inches. Legal. Everything checks out on paper. The carburetor is stock. The heads appear regulation. Compression ratio measures within limits. The engine passes inspection. Then it goes out and destroys engines with 100 more cubic inches. This was Smokey Yunick's 421 Pontiac, the engine that shouldn't have been possible. Between 1966 and 1967, Smokey built what appeared to be a legal 421 that performed like a 500 cubic inch monster. It passed tech inspection repeatedly while making power that violated the laws of physics. Competitors protested. Inspectors investigated. Nobody could prove anything, but everyone knew something was wrong. How did one man from a Daytona Beach garage build an engine that forced NASCAR to rewrite their entire rule book? The answer reveals the greatest game of cat and mouse in racing history, where creative interpretation met blatant rule-breaking, and the line between them disappeared completely. Smokey's philosophy was simple. It's legal until they say it isn't. By the time they said it wasn't, he'd already won. Historical context and development. Henry Smokey Yunick wasn't just another mechanic. He was a World War II B-17 flight engineer who brought military precision to stock car racing. His Daytona Beach shop wore the sign, "Best damn garage in town," and nobody argued. By the mid-1960s, Smokey had earned a reputation as the man who found loopholes NASCAR didn't know existed. Oversized fuel tanks, creative aerodynamics, suspension geometry that bent rules without breaking them. If the rule book didn't specifically forbid something, Smokey considered it legal. The 1966 NASCAR landscape presented a challenge that perfectly suited his talents. Displacement limits capped engines at 427 cubic inches. Chrysler ran the dominant 426 Hemi. Ford campaigned the 427 SOHC. Chevrolet brought their 427 Mystery motor. Everyone had maximum displacement except Pontiac, whose largest production engine measured just 421 cubic inches. Worse, General Motors' corporate racing ban from 1963 meant Pontiac officially wasn't even competing. Though private teams received mysterious support and parts from Pontiac engineers who happened to know Smokey personally. The mission was clear. Make a 421 competitive against engines 6 cubic inches larger and backed by full factory programs. Most builders would have declared it impossible. Smokey saw opportunity. Where others saw a displacement disadvantage, he recognized that NASCAR's inspection procedures had weaknesses. They measured what they could see. They trusted gauges. They assumed honesty. Smokey understood that assumptions were exploitable. The Pontiac 421 provided the perfect foundation: strong block casting, decent cylinder heads, proven reliability. It just needed to become something it wasn't, while appearing exactly like what it was. Smokey's background in precision aircraft work gave him tolerance awareness that 1960s stock car racing had never considered. He knew that measurements depend on how you measure. He knew that legal was a matter of perspective. And he knew that NASCAR's inspection protocols were written by people who assumed racers played fair. They were about to learn otherwise. The Golden Age. Curtis Turner piloted Smokey's Pontiac through 1966 and 1967, posting qualifying speeds that shocked competitors and race pace that defied mathematics. The car was fast everywhere, drafting straights, tight corners, high-speed sweepers. It shouldn't have been possible. A 421 giving away displacement to Hemis, and 427s should have been mid-pack at best. Instead, it won races and ran up front consistently. The performance numbers told an impossible story. Claimed output hovered around 550 horsepower, conservative estimates whispered by Smokey when pressed. Witnesses who heard the engine on dynamometers claimed closer to 600 to 650 horses, numbers that normal 421 race engines couldn't approach even with every legal trick known. Standard Pontiac 421 race motors made 465 to 485 horsepower. Smokey's advantage was 100-plus horsepower from thin air, or so it seemed. The torque curve was equally suspicious. Flat power from 4,000 to 7,000 RPM, characteristics that didn't match Pontiac's architecture or cam profiles. Fuel consumption ran suspiciously high for an engine making claimed power. Oil consumption registered abnormally low for race conditions. Every data point suggested something fundamentally different was happening inside that engine, but tech inspection kept passing it as legal. NASCAR inspectors measured displacement with bore gauges and stroke calculations, exactly 421 cubic inches every time. They checked compression ratios with graduated burettes, within legal limits. They examined carburetors, stock-appearing Hollies that met specifications, exhaust systems, camshaft lift, valve sizes, everything checked the boxes. The car passed inspection before every race, yet remained impossibly fast once competition started. Technical brilliance. The displacement shell game was Smokey's masterpiece. NASCAR measured bore diameter with precision gauges inserted into cylinders, then calculated displacement using bore times stroke times pi times number of cylinders. Simple mathematics. Foolproof, they thought. But Smokey understood that cylinders don't have to be perfectly round. His barrels were machined slightly oval, circular at the top where inspectors measured, but progressively wider as the bore descended. The oval shape was invisible to standard bore gauges that only measured one diameter. Real displacement, estimated between 438 and 445 cubic inches, 20-plus cubes hidden in geometry that inspection protocols never considered checking. The combustion chamber magic was even more brilliant. NASCAR verified compression ratios by filling chambers with water from graduated burettes, measuring volume, then calculating compression based on cylinder volume versus chamber volume. Smokey machined his chambers with hidden pockets and recesses, then filled them with clay during inspection. The clay dissolved after the first heat cycle, revealing the true chamber volume, much smaller than measured, creating compression ratios around 14:1, while NASCAR's gauges showed legal 12:1. The trick was invisible unless you knew exactly where to look, and inspectors didn't. The fuel system became legendary. The famous 11-foot fuel line story has basis in truth. Smokey routed fuel lines through frame rails, adding capacity that wasn't technically a larger tank. Challenges rise. By 1967, the complaints reached critical mass. Richard Petty's team formally protested, "That's not a 421." Ford engineers ran calculations and declared Smokey's power numbers physically impossible. Competitors demanded action. NASCAR responded by assigning dedicated inspectors to follow Smokey's operation, conducting complete teardown inspections after every race. Smokey passed every single inspection, but the margin of passage grew thinner as NASCAR's procedures became more thorough. The famous impound incident became racing legend. NASCAR impounded Smokey's car for detailed inspection at their facility, determined to find what they knew existed. The story goes that when NASCAR told Smokey to make it legal, he started the car, disconnected the fuel tank, and drove away, proving the fuel system held enough extra capacity to run without a tank. The relationship between Smokey and NASCAR deteriorated beyond repair. Every race became a battle. Inspectors knew something was wrong but couldn't prove it with available measurement tools. Smokey knew they knew and enjoyed the game until it stopped being fun and became harassment. The cat-and-mouse contest that started as clever engineering versus rule-book interpretation evolved into open hostility between a genius mechanic and sanctioning body officials who felt disrespected. GM's official exit from racing became real this time. Pontiac support evaporated. Parts supplies dried up. Without factory backing, even Smokey couldn't sustain competitiveness against fully supported Ford and Chrysler programs. The 421 program was effectively dead by late 1968. Smokey's final races with the combination were more about defiance than genuine competitiveness. One last middle finger to NASCAR before moving to Indianapolis and other projects. The transition. Smokey shifted focus to Indianapolis 500 efforts between 1968 and 1969, applying his creative thinking to different rules and different sanctioning bodies. The 421 tricks became obsolete as NASCAR's new inspection protocols closed the loopholes systematically. But the techniques didn't die. They spread throughout racing as other builders learned from Smokey's concepts, adapting them to work within tightened regulations. Port flowing became standard practice. Precision measurement became mandatory. Tech inspection sophistication increased directly because of Smokey's exploits. The Pontiac 421 faded from NASCAR competition entirely, replaced by the 455 that arrived too late to matter. Other teams applied Smokey's thinking within the new rules, continuing the cheating arms race with more subtle methods. Modern tech inspection was born from those battles. Templates, sealed engines, spec components, digital measurement tools. Every restrictive rule traces lineage back to someone exploiting the previous rule's weaknesses, with Smokey as the patron saint of creative interpretation. Smokey's later years focused on consulting for various race teams, writing books that revealed some secrets while keeping others, and running his Daytona Beach shop as a pilgrimage site for younger mechanics seeking wisdom. NASCAR eventually forgave him somewhat, recognizing that his genius had forced them to become more professional and thorough. He was inducted into the Motorsports Hall of Fame in 1990, validation that history views rule breakers more kindly than contemporary officials did. Legacy and modern reality. The mythology surrounding Smokey's 421 Pontiac has achieved legendary status that often obscures reality. Stories grow with each retelling. The 11-foot fuel line, the 7/8 scale car, the inspector confrontations. Some stories have basis, in fact. Others are racing folklore that sound too good to check. What's undeniable? The engine was extraordinary and illegal by any reasonable interpretation. Yet it passed inspection repeatedly through Smokey's understanding of measurement limitations and rule ambiguities. Modern NASCAR owes its technical inspection sophistication to Smokey's era. Current templates, sealed engines, and spec parts exist as reactions to the creativity he demonstrated. Rules are now written with excruciating detail, specifically because Smokey proved that loopholes exist in any system written by humans. The phrase "Smokey legal" still circulates in racing paddocks, meaning something that technically complies while everyone knows it shouldn't. His influence on engine building extends beyond NASCAR. Smokey pioneered techniques now considered standard practice: precision port matching, combustion chamber optimization, intake manifold flow dynamics, and the critical importance of measurement accuracy. Modern engine builders study his approaches, finding that methods dismissed as cheating in the 1960s were actually advanced engineering that NASCAR's rules and inspection capabilities simply hadn't caught up to yet. What was gained? Professional technical inspection ensuring parity. Safety improvements from better understanding of what racers will attempt. More competitive racing when everyone runs similar equipment. But something intangible disappeared. The romance of the underdog mechanic beating factory teams through pure genius and audacity. Was Smokey Yunick a cheater or a genius? Both, probably. He built a 421 that performed like a 500, passed tech inspection, and forced NASCAR to rewrite the rulebook. Not bad for a guy from a Daytona Beach garage. What's your take? Subscribe for more racing legends.